Hi, everybody. I'm traveling. We're staying in the most awesome spot right now, but that's why you see a giant chalkboard behind me. So I wanted to address, there were just so many incredible questions on the webinar on Saturday, and there is another one coming up. Sorry, I'm wanting to make sure you can see me okay. Here. There's another one coming up this Saturday. So you can register with the link on top. And a mom named Maka, I hope I pronounced your name right, Maka, she wanted to know, what do you do when both children are melting down? What do you do? It is so unbelievably hard when you have two children or even three children that are melting. I've been there because I've had my own two children with me, and then a third child over for a play date. So there have been moments where I've had all three of them melting at the same time. And let me just tell you, Maka, that it's friggin' hard. That's the truth. It's friggin' hard. But it is possible. And what you want to do when you have more than one child, usually you have an older sibling and a younger sibling, typically speaking, and usually the older one tends to be the more aggressive one and the little one is the baby. And often in our family, that was the dynamics, that the older one would sort of come after the younger one when he would get disconnected. And so you have, let's say you have an example where the older one hit the younger one. And so the younger one's crying because she's hurt, obviously. In my scenario, it was a she. And the older one is feeling off and awful. You can tell that they feel bad. They don't want to hurt their siblings. No child wants to hurt another child, ever, ever, ever. But if you can remember from the webinar, it's all about that prefrontal cortex going dim, getting smaller. So that part of the brain that's in charge of judgment, impulse control, reasoning, short-term memory, they literally cannot think in those moments because there's been a disconnect, and your older one in this scenario has hurt the younger one. What do you do? You know, there's no one size fits all, right? This is why you want to learn these tools in tandem, so that depending on you, depending on how resourced you are, you can step in with whatever tool is going to work and be the most efficient. All of these tools work together. They're literally like a net. And in the moments, usually when both of my kids would be hurt, I would separate them, like immediately, physically, like put my body in between them and keep one on one side and one on the other side. And usually I'd have my newborn here and I'd be listening to her, and usually my son Ocean, when I met him with love and compassion in these moments, instead of coming down hard on him, usually he would burst into tears too. So he's crying on one side and she's crying on the other side, and I would listen to him for a few minutes and say, yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't here to help you. Listen to him, and then I'd turn to her and I'd say, oh, I'm so sorry you got hit. Yeah, it feels terrible. And back and forth, and I'd give one a couple minutes and the other a couple minutes. And usually when you do this little like kind of popcorn stay with me style, usually one of them will process it quicker and be done, and then that one will sit and be calm and listen while you finish with the other one. That's how I did it. Now there were other times when my son would be like in the midst of a huge tantrum where the fear would really come up and he would get very aggressive, so he wouldn't necessarily collapse into a heap of tears. He would actually get more physical. And that's really tricky, but it's also still totally possible. So what I would do is I would pick my baby up so that I didn't have to worry about her being afraid or being hurt again. And knowing that my son is unable to think and he can't really control himself in that moment, I would stand up and I would literally, like, I'd stand up like this and I'd have one arm down at him, like on his head or on his shoulders, and I'd be listening to him, and I'd have my other baby here, or I'd have the ergo on so that I had her up close, and I'd be listening to him. And it's hard. I'll just be honest, it's hard. But what's the solution, right? What's the other solution? The other solution is, oh, I put him in a timeout, or I come down hard on him, or I send him to his room, or I yell at him, or whatever it is, which is just going to make that fear dig in deeper into his body, and it's not going to allow him to process the feelings that are there to begin with. Babies, it's really amazing, because if you start doing this work really early with them, it's incredible. They don't have this huge backlog of feelings. Like babies, if you start listening to them right from day one, and there's an art to this as well. So I'm not talking about just having babies crying. I'm talking about really knowing that all of their needs are met. You know, they're not wet or cold or hungry or wet, cold, hungry, or tired, right? All of their basic needs have been met, and still you have a baby that's not feeling good, that's still like, you know, and all you can do with that baby is you hold them close and you listen, you say, yeah, I'm right here, instead of trying to rock them or shush them or drive them or bounce them or give them a boob to make them stop fussing, or, you know, this is a big topic. I'm going to do my own little live feed on babies, because it's really, really just incredible to work with babies from day one. So your baby, don't worry about your baby. Your baby's going to know exactly what to do, how to offload that stress that came from brother or sister. And as long as you're there to listen to them and be that anchor for them, they recover really fast, because they don't have the backlog of feelings. If you have a 3, 4, 5-year-old who really have never had a chance to cry completely, then you might find that it's going to take a little bit of time, because they really need to uncover everything that's been shoved in there all those years. And you might find that the crying feels even more intensified initially, but you can know that you're just chipping away at it and chipping away at it. And what will happen is that the more you can hang in there, the more you can listen to them, even if you can just hang in there for 3 to 5 minutes, it will make life easier and easier and easier, and you'll start seeing huge changes in your children. I have parents who, they had picky eaters, they don't have picky eaters. They had a child who never slept, now they have children who sleep. They had children with developmental delays, they go away. They had children that were just difficult and never cooperative and always like everything was a problem, and now they have children who are just easier and they're more in their bodies and they're happier. And like, there are so many benefits to really learning how to stay with your child when they have their feelings. So Maka, I hope that helps a little bit. And your other question was about radical listening, how to find a radical listening partner. And for any of you who have watched my live feeds so far, you know that radical listening is like the top of my list for moms taking care of themselves. And we're going to have a way to hook people up. It's really important to me that mothers have support. So that's going to be part of our infrastructure here that's going to be coming out. So stay tuned for that. It's also, I know Mako, you were on the webinar, so it's also going to be a part of what we were talking about towards the end of the webinar. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. Just come on Saturday and join us and you'll know what I'm talking about, because as moms, you know, we have to break this isolation. We need each other desperately. We don't need to be figuring this out by ourselves. And that's a big reason that Mommy Minutes was birthed, was to bring moms together so we can have this support. And there are people on here, I promise you, part of our community on here, who want a radical listening partner, who want to give this a go and really want to develop this support for themselves. So we're going to help with that. So those are a couple questions from our webinar on Saturday. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't on Saturday. It was on, I can't even remember. I'm traveling right now. Whatever day it was last week. But this week we're having it on Saturday at 9 o'clock for anybody who couldn't make it through the week. So register, join us. There's going to be lots of time for questions and answers, and you're going to take home some amazing tools right away that you can put into action. So I hope you register, share it with your community, and I'll see you soon.